Drones aren't just cameras in the sky anymore. They're survey instruments, construction tools, and asset management bridges. The winners aren't the one with the flashiest hardware. They're the ones who turn flights into defensible deliverables fast. Today, we'll unpack how teams choose the right platform for large area mapping and how to keep data trustworthy from field to GIS. We'll also touch on the policy backdrop shaping platform choices without letting it run the show. Before we begin, do you want to know what separates struggling drone programs from those generating millions in ROI? Grab our free Enterprise Drone Program Maturity Assessment. It's a $2,500 value that reveals your maturity stage, your top 3 quick wins, and your full growth roadmap. And for advanced strategy, sign up for the paid pro version of the Drone Strategist newsletter on Substack. All links are in the description. Joining me is Aaron Varnau of WithersRavenel. Aaron, quick intro, man. What do you lead at WithersRavenel? What do you do?
I am the remote sensing field coordinator. I like to be in the field as much as I can be, so my job is to take information from project managers and from people higher up on the ladder within remote sensing and be there in the field myself and lead the operations there. We have moved remote sensing into multiple offices, so we've got Wingtras in 3 offices now. We've got LiDAR in 2 offices, so I'm kind of overseeing all the training of everybody in all the other offices as well.
Okay. Man, I'm going to start off with just like a quick sort of first question. What's sort of like one of the biggest shift that you've seen in like enterprise drone work over the past like 12 to 18 months? As far as like capabilities, client expectations, or like compliance pressures?
Across the industry, definitely the DJI mess, we'll call it. And part of that is, the blue UAS thing. Everybody's worried about compliance. We work with our state DOT. They, mandate that we use certain drones and don't use certain drones. We fly in military airspace every now and again. So we've had to shift away from DJI, which fortunately we've already been working on for a few years. But that whole conundrum of making sure that the drone you're using is within regulations.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I figured we'd dive into this, but like, so ASDA, American Security Drone Act, obviously in full effect now. At the same time, a lot of things were going on with the covered list and FCC.
Right.
So like it kind of like slipped in there and like, hey guys, guess what?
Yeah.
Federal entities, U.S. government, no more China drones. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big topic in the industry. It's something that people are struggling with right now. Like, man, what do we do? It's like, and some of my questions later may have to do with that, but like,
Sure.
At WithersRavenel, obviously, so you serve an internal customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
That internal customer primarily works with government contracts. So like you already saw this, and this isn't new. So like you already saw this years ago. The company saw this years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The industry has seen this coming for years, yet has still decided to kind of like stay the course.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
So to put it kind of in my own experience, it can be a big cost investment to move to an American-made drone. If you're used to DJI, it's a shift of expertise for using the hardware, the software. It's a big commitment to make a full shift, given that a lot of people were fully in DJI. I wrote an essay my freshman year of college about how at the time DJI, I believe, had an 87% market share or 89 or something. So I think the biggest thing is the amount of money and training it would take to shift the whole operation to a new provider.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm going to ask just another quick question. So like, do you think that this shift is kind of going to take out the bottom of the market? And what I mean by that is the solo operators, the small operations that are out there. Do you think that's just going to it's going to take all them out?
I think it might take a good number of them out, and I don't think that's entirely just because of the regulations immediately that they may not be able to get projects they've been doing regularly. something that we struggled with is we have a DJI M600 that still flies. I still use it. But when that drone was end-of-lifed by DJI, over time, it of course becomes harder to find batteries, spare propellers, and we shelved it for a couple years because we couldn't find new batteries anywhere, and the batteries we had lost a lot of capacity. So I think in the future we're also going to see, those sole providers start to shift to other industries or new kinds of business, because even if they were able to keep finding work after all this has happened, 4 years down the line, maybe their drone doesn't work so well and they can't find spare parts anymore.
I think that's a big one. A lot of people are talking about that. A lot of people are saying, like, in the interim, like the right now, I'm talking the 6 to 12 months, there shouldn't be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 2 to 3 to 4 years down the road when they're looking at those same challenges, it's going to be a different world for them. So
Right.
I think if you're an operator right now and you're listening to this podcast or you're watching us here, you need to consider that. You need to understand how to diversify your practice and your tool set without shooting yourself in the foot, and know why you're doing it. That's probably one of the biggest things, right? Knowing why you do it. So we're going to talk a little bit now. My second question is, like, why Wingtra in practice, right? So like you adopted
Right.
Wingtra for your mapping, so beyond the spec sheet, where does it outperform? Coverage per day, PPK repeatability, launch land constraints, safety, whatever, right? And what use cases is it your go-to for versus what do you still reach for like multi-rotors and LiDAR?
So we've been using Wingtra for about 5 years now. I actually still have a Gen 1 that flies, though we have, of course, got Gen 2s over time. The biggest thing for me is how easy it is to use. I mentioned we have Wingtras in 3 offices now. It takes, an hour to show someone how to use a Wingtra and fly successfully. We have had, off the top of my head, no in-air instances of anything. I've had a hawk kind of chase at one time, and I just told it to come home, and I was fine. But when you deal with large quadcopters and hex rotors, they're big, they're complex, they're loud, they shake around in the air, and it takes a lot of training, especially with the cost of a LiDAR sensor. It takes a lot for us to trust somebody to be out there in the field without me, without, people I've worked with in the past. The Wingtras are so easy to use, and they don't fail. We see very few problems with them in the field. My Gen 1 still flies just fine. And I can't say that about most of the drones I've flown, where when they're 5 years old, they fly just like they came out of the box. The Wingtra Pilot and Wingtra Cloud softwares are both user-friendly. I like that they're dialed in on one thing, which is flying just the Wingtra. We use all kinds of other flight software for all kinds of drones, and it's just easy. And when it's 100 degrees and you're 10 hours into the day and you're standing on top of a landfill, it matters that it's easy. It keeps your stress low. It keeps you focused. You're not confused about all different kinds of things. We mostly use our Wingtras for, basic photogrammetry. We'll digitize all kinds of things in CAD software in Carlson using a Wingtra ortho. We'll do that for subsurface utility locating. We'll do Alta surveys, all kinds of things. And we actually fly them on pretty much every single LiDAR project we do, even if we are using our FreeFly Alta X that has a big Regal Vux 120 on it. That's kind of our main LiDAR system because we can, the Vux 120 is a high power sensor. And we'll still fly a Wingtra ortho anyway because it's so fast and it's so easy. Really, I don't even ask. I just go fly one because I know someone's going to appreciate it in the pipeline,
Wow. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I thought a little bit about just a thought-provoking thing when we spoke last on sort of like mindset. You said that it's easier to train a surveyor to be a drone pilot than to train a drone pilot to be a surveyor.
Right.
Elaborate.
Sure. So obviously you have to get your Part 107, and that is a proper exam, and that is, it's difficult. You have to study for that.
Is it difficult?
Maybe not too difficult. It's been 7 years since I took it. But once you have that, with the Wingtra, it flies itself. The flight planning is very simple. With the Alta X, that takes a lot more training, but once you've been on it for maybe a month, we'll start letting you get on flights more and more. And within a couple months, you're pretty competent with it. But with surveying, there's so many different kinds of surveys. There's so much different equipment. There's so much knowledge that goes into it. It just takes longer. And there's so much to know. The different ways of setting control. There's different methods of using RTK to set control. There's so many different angles you can use to do so many different things that it takes months. It takes significantly longer for someone to be competent for using drones to do surveying, because they have to understand what the survey is for, all the different kinds of accuracy you're going to need in the field. If your data is not accurate, why? There's a million different reasons it might not be accurate. But really, no matter what the project is for, we fly the drones pretty much the same way every time, and they're automated anyway once they're in the air. So there's less to understand about the project itself if you're only working with the drones, because you're just going to fly a gridded path regardless.
So let's talk about this. So another question. So kind of walk me through flight to deliverable. It's workflow and QA/QC. So walk us through your end to end, right? Mission design, GCP, PPK, RTK strategy, processing, QA/QC gates, and then hand off to GI or CAD GIS, right? What are two failure points that you've eliminated with either process or training? And how did that impact your the schedule or rework?
Sure. So I think one of the best things that we do well in particular is that we do a lot of cross training. So sure, I prefer to be in the field. I like to be flying the drones, but I have worked quite a bit with the software that we use to process the data. So I've seen LiDAR point clouds. I've worked with them. I've made all the contour lines and all the break lines, and I've done that before. And given that I've seen the data and worked with it, it makes it a lot easier for me to plan a flight. So because I've worked with the data and manipulated it myself and I know what it looks like, it's easier for me. Sure, I'm going to just fly gridded lines no matter what, but maybe I want to fly them perfectly north and south, or maybe I want to tilt that 20 degrees and fly this way. And making a lot of those simple decisions, maybe we like to have our control points with a Wingtra 1,000 feet apart. Maybe I see a particular place where I'd rather that be 800 feet. Because I've worked in Pix 4D, I've worked in other, like Metashape, I've worked in all these other softwares, and I know how is that data going to look for the next guy whose full-time job is in the office processing data. And everyone that we have in the office full-time processing data used to fly full-time in the field. So it's this nice pipeline where everyone knows what everyone else is doing. And because we're making a pretty finished product within our own team, it's able to be checked over by a project manager, make sure everything looks okay, and go straight to engineering. We're a smaller team. I think we're at 8 people right now, and everyone works together very closely. I took a meeting on my laptop from the field today, and we get to see each other a lot and cross-train and communicate about what went wrong in the field or what went great and how do we learn from that.
I think that's really important to understand understand the outcome, right? You got to understand the outcome to know how to best process,
Right.
how to best fly. There's a lot of folks, and I'm having a conversation with some folks in other states about the challenges of not understanding the outcome, just hearing, hey, we need to go fly this. That's it. Hey, we need to go fly this. And then they will grab the equipment and they will just go.
Mm-hmm.
Set it up as they see fit. And then most of the time, I mean, sometimes they'll get lucky, right? You'll get lucky because a lot of these collection platforms lend themselves towards, we'll call them the least common denominator, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to have, you could basically teach a 5-year-old to fly a Wingtra or a DJI or anything like that. You can do it. The problem with that is that without understanding the remote sensing of the anything about what's going to happen with the data in the processing environment and having to work through that and understand the parameterization or understanding how that processing will affect the deliverable, it causes problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think that's definitely something that this industry needs to understand, is that simplified, I just need to go do, hopefully goes away. I am all for simplicity. I love keep it simple, stupid. all about it. But that being said, the best way for teams to understand what they're doing with data and how to do anything with it to create value is to understand that processing, QA, QC, deliverable pipeline. So I love what you guys are doing at WithersRavenel. I love it. Like, I think that's the best way to do it. You rotate people through, right? There's a hierarchy, there's a program, there's a workflow to get people through that cross training. I think that's so important because look, these are tools and you got to teach these different tools so that they become a complete person, right? I'm not just going to teach someone how to, hammer a nail, right? No, I think that's really important and very well said. So I'm glad that you said that. Okay, let's talk about a thought-provoking question. Maybe controversial, maybe thought-provoking. So obviously, ASDA with evolving rules, security expectations in the background. How do you avoid vendor lock-in while still standardizing enough to keep teams fast and consistent? What's sort of like your rule of thumb for balancing platform depth versus fleet diversity?
That's a good question. We used to be all DJI, and we have become Wingtra and American made from there. We're kind of working through that right now because we've got another big boy quadcopter in the budget this year, and we have to figure out what we want to do there. So
I was about to say, I was like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, we don't know yet. We're just starting to kind of put out feelers. We prioritize keeping one system alive as long as we can, because once you've been working with one system, our Alta X now, we have one box and it opens up and it is a full ground station. The laptop and every peripheral that goes with that system stays in that box, and there's a big power brick underneath. There's like a bag holding everything together. So you plug just that power brick into the truck and it powers everything. It's one plug, everything's ready to go. The drone takes itself off, it flies. We land manually as a safety precaution, but it is literally plug and play at that point, and we don't want to change that. And once you start diversifying your fleet, there's a lot of different systems. Drones go haywire all the time. I had to cancel on you last week because I had to go fix some goblins in the wires of a drone. And the more you diversify your fleet, the more random problems, the more firmware versions and updates and spare parts and things you have to deal with. So I like that we have narrowed down the equipment that we use. I keep the M600 alive because it's just easy for me to have now that I've moved to a new office, but we may be just doubling down on an Alta X just so I'm using the same drone that we have in our carry office, and it's, everything lines up. If one person has a problem, the whole team learns from it that's got one.
Totally makes sense. Okay. Lightning round, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, one sentence answers. Okay, so think about it.
Yeah,
okay,
I like to ramble. It's going to be tough.
PPK or RTK for most sites, and why?
PPK because it is one less thing for me to manage while the drone is in the air.
Okay. What's the most common accuracy mistake you still see?
It is as simple as poor placement of GCPs, control points.
Fair enough. That could be an entire other podcast.
It certainly could.
One QA/QC gate that you refuse to skip.
An afternoon second checklist run because I get tired and grumpy and forgetful.
Okay. Faster data or tighter tolerances? Pick one.
It's evolved over time. With experience, I feel like I can say faster data collection.
Okay.
Not at first, but now.
That's an evolution. What is the best single action a PM can take to de-risk their next drone project?
A physical map. I like to print out a Google Earth map with drawn in takeoff spot, control points, flight line direction, One physical thing everyone can see with their eyes in person before it happens.
I like it.
And take to the field.
Okay. Aaron, this has been fun, man. So where can people learn more about you, WithersRavenel, and where can they connect?
I'm on LinkedIn, Aaron Varnau. We are going through a website update right now for WithersRavenel, so we should have some newer marketing pictures. All the ones on there right now are M600, which is 5+ years ago. We're online. We're a small team, and we repost each other here and there, but I'm happy to chat.
That's awesome. Aaron, man, I know you just got back from the field, but thanks for joining me on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, a wealth of information, and I think people have probably learned something.
I'm happy to share it, and I hope they did learn something.
Is my goal, man. Right on.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for joining us on the Do You Know Drones podcast. Until next time, stay flying.
See ya.